Choice. It's the best part of being a real person, but if used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? If you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside.
Games are by far the most interactive form of media, but what makes them engaging? One could argue moving a joystick forward to move a pixel through eternal darkness is interactive, but would be far from compelling. Here you have a choice. You can move, or you can choose to stand still. However, neither choice really means anything, as there's no outcome or goal. You could add an instance in which you press X to change the color of the pixel from blue to red to green. This would imply an extra layer of interactivity, but still. Would it be fun or meaningful? Most would answer no. Players always have a choice between doing something and doing nothing, but by choosing to do nothing, you wouldn't progress very far in most games. In this sense, agency has its limits. Players have to be encouraged to take some sort of action, but how do game designers make players believe those actions are meaningful? Better yet, how can they provide a variety of choices and outcomes that make gameplay diverse in each playthrough? By making the impact of particular choices more meaningful, games not only become more immersive for the player as they begin to play with purpose, but increase in replayability. Some games offer an illusion of choice in which players can play in a variety of ways, but all result in a fairly similar outcome or ending. The impact of the player's choices in this sense can vary by game. For example, in Her Story, players can type a series of words into a detective database to try to begin to understand the story behind the murder of a man named Simon Smith. The order in which players receive information varies, and thus they may piece the puzzle together at different rates or in a different order, but when completing the game, the story is the exact same for everyone. This gives the player a sense of autonomy, feeling their actions are meaningful, but without giving the players the choice of which word to type in at what point, the game would become a linear narrative and basically a found footage film. Thus, after one playthrough of the game and finding all the clips, there isn't much more to be done.
Of course I thought about what happened then. It's all I've thought about. My husband is dead.
In Fable Anniversary, players are faced with an alignment system where the player can choose between pathways of good and evil. By helping people and exhibiting positive behavior, players will begin to look more angelic and receive good reactions from NPCs, while committing crimes and generally being a menace will give you more demonic features and lead to fearful, negative reactions. However, the player's alignment doesn't affect the main quest or the outcome of the story. Spoiler alert! The hero will still attempt to defeat Jack of Blades and save Albion. And this way, players are empowered by decision-making into feeling a kind of moral superiority or sense of power in the world, but the consequences are relatively constrained. Beyond the ending, however, Fable offers a bit more agency in choosing side quests, gear, and honing skills, owning real estate, and even beginning relationships, allowing the player much more game time. Some games may offer a variety of choices that do impact the outcomes of the game while maintaining some linearity through branching narratives. For example, in Papers, Please, where you play as a border inspector in dystopian Eastern Europe, alternate endings allow the player some feeling of autonomy in the making of the story. In one ending, the player can choose to illegally confiscate a passport at the expense of a citation and save 25 credits to escape from the authoritarian country Arstotzka with their family. In another, they can help a revolutionary group destroy the border in an effort to overthrow the government. Over 20 endings allow for multiple replays, and choices creating moral dilemmas create greater empathy for characters, further immersing players in the game world. The Stanley Parable questions the entire nature of player agency and free will within its narrative. The player is challenged to oppose what the narrator advises.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Leading to a variety of wild outcomes. The game challenges the player to think critically about the choices they make, if even their own, the nature of free will, and their own relationship to the designers of games themselves.
You need to be the one to do this, to reach out. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
Combat in games is only improved when you don't just feel like you've mastered the controls, but you've gained an extensive knowledge of the weapons, equipment, moves, and lore, and the option to choose between them makes it all the more gratifying. Games like Wizard of Legend and Hades are replayable because of the vast variety of ways to play the game that they offer. Each level feels different despite remaining the exact same in its world design. Although I love a good hack-and-slash fighter, JRPGs and other turn-based combat games force the player to make critical decisions that often involve a deep understanding of the lore and behavior of enemies. They force you to pay attention to make the right choices. Undertale is a perfect example of this, as specific enemies require specific choices from the player. Take Doggo, for example. The guy just wants you to stop moving. And after that, he just wants to be pet. Hypothetically, you could fight everyone, but the game gives you the choice to take a more peaceful approach, which personally I love because I am just so sick of being angry at these cute little dudes. And it fuels my savior complex. The game even gives you the constant chance to choose mercy, even encouraging it, which feels like a breath of fresh air, especially for someone like me who's constantly playing games like Doom. No mercy there. Arguably, the best form of interaction is when a player feels that they're changing the entire game world by making particular decisions. In this regard, open world and sandbox games have absolutely changed the game and the gaming industry. See what I did there? No, but really, there is a reason I have over 4,000 hours on The Sims 4. And I won't ever show anyone the amount of time I've spent playing Minecraft across various platforms. It's because the opportunities are truly endless, and it all comes down to the ability to choose, to do whatever you want. Minimal rules, minimal restrictions, just good old fun. So, in conclusion, the more player agency, the better the game. Games hit much harder when you believe your decisions have made an impact. Because without that, you're just pressing buttons, which literal monkeys can do. Making the choice to press X to jump can be fun, but making a meaningful choice to press it and save a character, or, well, to doubt, changes the entire course of the playthrough and adds a whole extra layer of depth to the gaming experience.
I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices?
Thank you so much for watching. This has been Player Agency and Choices, and I have been Emerson. Ciao!